far as the Sumerian story of the beginning, which is not.
Hold on. First of all, we start from the beginning. We don't do all that in the middle, at the end. We need to, you can't understand what's going on if you in the middle. You jump in, you just jumping in the middle. At the end, you gotta start from the beginning. So we gonna take it back, go way to the beginning. We ain't gonna miss nothing.
Yes, Dr. Malachi York, could you please explain the beginning?
By the beginning, I assume you mean the book of Genesis, because you have the beginning talking about creation in the book of Genesis. And then you have a beginning even in the Quran of the Muslims. You have a beginning of the Hindus, beginning of the Baha'i, beginning of the Sikhs, beginning of the Buddhists. You got a beginning of people all over the world. There's many, the Native Americans have a story at the beginning. None of these stories go back as far as the Sumerian story of the beginning, which is recorded.
Everyone has a beginning story. Nope. That should be the first note. Everybody, all over the world. Everybody.
On cuneiform tablets, right, called the Enuma Elish, Atrahasi, etc., etc. And their tablets, especially the language cuneiform, the wedge script, itself comes out of Egypt, out of a language called Nuwapic, right, which is an ancient mystical language. They have many dialects in Egypt, Demotics, Heretics, so on, right, which is an wedge script, Hasi, etc., etc. Recorded on cuneiform tablets as the Sumerians have a story at the beginning. None of these stories go back as far as the Sumerian story of the beginning, which is recorded on cuneiform tablets, right, called the Enuma.
Do anybody want to argue that? Who want to debate? It don't matter what beginning we want to talk about, whose beginning we want to talk about. It don't go as far back dated as the Sumerian tablets. We're going to get into that. You mean Elish and all that. We're going to get into that. Anybody want to debate that? What I want to know. That's what I want to know. Who got something to say about that? Who got something that go outdated past the Sumerian tablet?
Etc., etc. And their tablets, especially the language cuneiform, the wedge script, itself comes out of Egypt, out of a language called Nuwapic, right, which is an ancient mystical language. They have many dialects in Egypt, Demotics, Heretics, so on, so that associate with Aramic or Hebrew. The reason why I say that because I want to make clear when we start talking about Genesis in the Bible, and we use this language that they have in the Bible that they're calling Hebrew, when we know Hebrew didn't really exist, because Abraham or Abram, a Chaldean who was in the Bible, or Hebrew. The reason why I say that because heretics, so on, so that associate with Aramic or Hebrew. The reason why I say that because I want to make clear when we start talking about Genesis in the Bible, and we use this language that they have in the Bible that they're calling Hebrew, when we know Hebrew didn't really exist, because Abraham or Abram, a Chaldean who wasn't a Hebrew, was called a Hebrew. He was a Chaldean, and he worshipped the Chaldean gods, the sun god. He had introduced to the god Elion El.
Whoa, hold on.
To me is
no ad, bro. We gotta get ready to
giant open
real
universe
quick.
where you can do
by a man called Melchizedek, who wasn't a Hebrew, Chaldean, and he worshipped the Chaldean gods, the sun.
So Abraham, Chaldean, no Hebrew, he was called a Hebrew, and then he got introduced to
God. He got introduced to the god Elion El by a man called Melchizedek, who wasn't a Hebrew, who was a ruler of another land.
So Abraham met Melchizedek. Who knows in the scriptures where Abraham meets Melchizedek? Who can open up to the chapter where Abraham meets Melchizedek? Abraham meets Melchizedek.
Called Salam, which was the birthplace of Jerusalem before Jerusalem became Jeru, from Jebus, one of Canaan's sons, and Salam from that ancient kingdom. So when you say beginning, right, you got to understand that there's different beginnings, and the Bible beginning is not the oldest beginning. Though Christians and Muslims alike would like to think that the Bible that they hold in their hand, when it says in the beginning, is the beginning of everything. But there's certain things that happen down through that same book that reveal that this couldn't have been the very beginning, because statements like the goal of that land is good, mentioned in Genesis chapter beginning. Things that happen in the beginning is the beginning of everything. But there's certain things that happen down through that same book that revealed that this couldn't have been the very beginning.
So there's recordings and things that went down. There's recordings and artifacts and things that confirm that it went a little further back than what's in that book. or that version of that book. Because most people got different versions that ain't even the original shit anyway. So
Because statements like the goal of that land is good, mentioned in Genesis chapter 2, and it's talking about the land of Cush when you look at it in Hebrew as they're calling it, and that's called Ethiopia. And they try to give you try to get you to believe that the Bible had its beginning over in the Middle East as opposed to Ethiopia, which is in Africa.
Right.
But the statement about the 4 rivers keeps ending down from the Tigris, Euphrates. They pour down into Nubia, which is ancient Egypt, which is Cush, Ham, Phut, Mizraim, etc. Those are the families of that area. So the beginning changes if you go back to the land in which they say the beginning in Genesis is talking about. If we get over there and actually stop and look, we'll find that the beginning story changed in Egypt. Whole concept, though it sounds very similar. You follow? You with me?
Yes.
So to look at it, let's say we'll start with Genesis chapter 1, verse 1. That's always the best place to start, right? You see, Bereshith, bara Elohim, eth hashemayim, wa'eth erith, haharith. All right. This translates closely as Bet. The first letter there is the Hebrew letter Bet. Bet is symbolic for the Hebrew word bit for house or abode, something in which something is encased. The original ancient root from the ancient Chaldean language is bet. Bet, and it means where a person goes inside and goes to sleep or rest. Maybe bed came from that in English. But the original initial letter in most Semitic languages, after you get past the alif, you come to the letter bet or ba or be or beth, and all of them keep coming back, or beta in Greek, that which is not Semitic but one of the European languages, but all of them got this letter B. And B, for some strange reason, is the first letter of the Torah. It's the first letter of the Quran of the Muslim. Because though they say that the Quran started in the 610, so and so and so and so and so, Muhammad was in a cave, etc., etc., the first thing said to him was, Iqra bismi rabbika alladhi khalaqa.
Bikra.
Right? Which meant read or recite in the name of your Rab. Rab is a Judaic name for rabbi, Rabboni, right? Master or teacher. So in the Quran, Iqra bismi rabbika alladhi khalaqa is no more than read in the name of your rabbi, really. But it becomes Lord, which is equivalent to Yahweh or Yahweh or Jehovah, and we know that's a physical being, as we explained last week, and this can continue. But so that the Quran first revelation is Bet Ismi. So they start saying Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim or Bismillah El Rahman Ar Rahim, however they want to distort it as they create their grammatical games. But it starts off with that letter Be too. And then you go to the book of the New Testament of the Bible, the Apocryphas, and then you come down with Biblos as the first word. And that Greek word Biblos, meaning little book, is the very first word and the first letter in the New Testament. Biblos. So now you go from the Torah or the Old Testament, and the first letter is Ba for Bereshith, right? And then you go to the New Testament, and it's Biblos with a B from Beta, from Greek, and then you go to the Quran, another book born out of these books. So a lot of Muslims may not realize it, but their religion was born out of Judaism and Christianity, right? And you get another one, Bismi, like in Bismillah, Bismillah. And it's the same thing, another letter, Be. All these letters symbolize the same thing when they go down to what they call the hidden meaning of it, and that's the house or the abode where people rest and wake up, go to sleep and wake up. So when we go back to Genesis chapter 1, verse 1, we first got to understand that there is no word beginning. But what are they calling it? Beginning.
Be.
You see, the letter B is there again. B is the second point.
Damn.
Joey?
Oh man, god damn.
From meeting for
That's
coffee
crazy, bro. Like when you really see that
to meeting
shit.
the family.
B, Bena. Bena, son. Benaiah. In the ancient language, B, Benaiah symbolizes to build or construct something.
So it's a whole nother meaning. That's the most important thing to take away from that. It's like it's a whole nother word. It's a whole different meaning. Once you change that into something else like that, bat or bat ain't the same as beginning. Like, them not the same things. Like, laying something in case of something down or the sleep or in and out the house or whatever, that's something different than what beginning is. Like,